the geopolitical chessboard has just been jolted again. Former US President Donald Trump is raising alarms, warning that China isn't simply sitting on the sidelines of the Ukraine war. It may, in fact, be quietly fueling the fire, while Beijing insists it is a neutral party and a promoter of peace. Mounting evidence and intelligence reports suggest that China's economic and technological lifelines could be sustaining Russia's invasion. So, is China on a secret mission to destroy Ukraine? Or is Trump's rhetoric a political move designed to frame Beijing as the hidden villain behind the war? Tonight, we break down the facts, the allegations, the denials, and the dangerous implications for the world. Let's start with what we know. Over the past 2 years, multiple investigations and intelligence assessments have shown that China has been providing Russia with dual-use technology, goods that can serve both civilian and military purposes. These include drone components, navigation systems, optical equipment, semiconductors, and propellants. None of these items are officially categorized as lethal weapons, but on the battlefield, they make a massive difference. According to a US State Department report, Chinese companies supplied microelectronics and parts that ended up in Russian cruise missiles and attack drones. Ukrainian forces have even recovered Chinese-made equipment from downed Russian drones. This isn't speculation. It's hard evidence that Chinese technology has made its way to the front lines, indirectly strengthening Moscow's military machine. China, of course, denies any wrongdoing. It insists that it follows international export controls and that if its products end up in Russia, it's the result of third-party reselling, not official state policy. But experts argue that the sheer volume and specificity of these items cannot be dismissed as coincidence. And then there's espionage. In late 2023, Ukrainian authorities announced the arrest of 2 Chinese nationals accused of trying to steal classified information on Ukraine's Neptune missile system, the very missile that famously sank Russia's Black Sea flagship, the Moskva, in 2022. This raised serious alarms in Kyiv. The suspicion is that Chinese operatives were attempting to acquire sensitive weapons technology, potentially to either share with Russia or to advance China's own military programs. Beijing denied any state involvement, calling the case fabricated. But Ukrainian intelligence said the suspects were acting under the direction of Chinese entities. For Ukraine, this was proof that China's role wasn't just about trade. It might be actively working to tilt the battlefield against them. Perhaps the most damning claims come directly from Ukrainian leaders themselves. In August 2025, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy accused China of supplying Russia with gunpowder, artillery shells, and even mercenaries. He went as far as to declare that Beijing cannot be trusted as a security guarantor in any peace deal, calling China an enabler of Russia's aggression. Ukraine's military intelligence echoed these accusations, warning that Chinese firms and intermediaries were funneling sensitive materials into Russia's defense industry. Now, to be clear, none of these claims have been fully verified by independent international watchdogs. But in the fog of war, such statements carry weight. For Kyiv, calling out Beijing is part of its broader strategy to show that Russia is not isolated, but supported by powerful partners, and that Ukraine is fighting not just Moscow, but a global coalition of authoritarian states. China's response has been swift and firm. Foreign ministry spokespeople dismissed Ukraine's accusations as groundless and irresponsible. They insist that Beijing has maintained a policy of neutrality, promoting ceasefire talks and refusing to provide lethal aid to either side. China points to its 12-point peace plan, released in February 2023, as proof that it is committed to ending the war through dialogue, not escalation. Chinese officials argue that if they were truly supplying weapons, the West would have already imposed massive sanctions on Beijing, something that hasn't happened at scale. From Beijing's perspective, it's being unfairly dragged into a conflict it didn't start. Officials repeat the line, China is neither the creator of the crisis nor a party to it. And yet, China's trade with Russia has soared since the war began. Bilateral trade hit a record $240 billion in 2023, with Chinese imports of Russian oil, gas, and coal skyrocketing. Critics argue this economic lifeline has helped Moscow withstand Western sanctions, effectively prolonging the war. So while Beijing claims neutrality, its actions suggest alignment, if not militarily, then economically and politically. This is where Donald Trump steps in. During a high-profile video call with European leaders earlier this week, Trump demanded that Europe cut off Russian oil imports immediately and place economic pressure on China, accusing it of bankrolling Putin's war. Trump's rhetoric was fiery. He claimed that China's trade and financial ties with Russia amount to a silent war against Ukraine and the West. He warned that unless Europe takes action, China will only grow stronger while Ukraine is weakened. This isn't the first time Trump has framed China as a global villain. Throughout his presidency and into his post-presidential years, he has consistently accused Beijing of economic manipulation, espionage, and global destabilization. But tying China directly to Ukraine's destruction is a new escalation, and it's a message designed to resonate with European leaders who are increasingly wary of Beijing's growing clout. Trump went even further. Just days ago, as Xi Jinping hosted Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un in Beijing, Trump accused the three leaders of conspiring against the United States and the Western world. He portrayed the Beijing military parade featuring Russian and North Korean troops as evidence of a new authoritarian axis determined to undermine democracy. To Trump's base, this framing is powerful. Xi, Putin, and Kim as the axis of upheaval, plotting behind closed doors while the West dithers. It paints China not as a bystander, but as the ringleader of a global anti-Western movement. Is this exaggeration? Possibly. But in geopolitics, perception often matters as much as reality, and Trump's words are shaping how millions of people, especially in the US and Europe, view China's role in Ukraine. Now let's pause and separate what's fact from what's rhetoric. What we know for certain, China has significantly expanded trade with Russia, particularly in energy and dual-use technology. Ukrainian officials have accused Beijing of supplying artillery materials and even mercenaries, though these claims remain unverified. Chinese nationals have been arrested in Ukraine on suspicion of espionage related to sensitive missile technology. Beijing has consistently denied any role in supplying weapons to Russia and insists it is pushing for peace negotiations. Trump's statements that China is on a secret mission to destroy Ukraine are not grounded in hard intelligence shared with the public. They reflect his political strategy to position China as the chief villain on the global stage. The axis of upheaval narrative, tying Xi, Putin, and Kim into one monolithic anti-Western bloc, is rhetorically powerful but geopolitically more complex. While these leaders align on resisting US influence, their individual national interests often clash, so the balance is clear. China is helping Russia economically and technologically, but the notion that it has an explicit mission to destroy Ukraine is, at least for now, more accusation than proven fact. That said, perception can be just as powerful as evidence. If enough people, politicians, media, citizens believe China is secretly backing Russia's war, the pressure on Beijing will intensify. So where does this leave us? Is China quietly undermining Ukraine by propping up Russia's war machine while publicly claiming neutrality? Or is Trump amplifying suspicion for political gain, framing Beijing as the hidden hand behind the conflict? What's undeniable is that this narrative, whether rooted in fact or perception, has enormous consequences. It shapes Western alliances, European strategies, and even Ukraine's chances of survival. And this is where you come in. What do you think? Is China on a secret mission to destroy Ukraine, or is this a case of political scapegoating? Share your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe for more global updates, and stay tuned as the world watches this high-stakes drama unfold.